is to secure the borders to Mexico and Canada so that we'll focus more on the people that are currently here. And from there, we'll ease their access into naturalization, citizenship. And so rather than focusing on bringing people in, we'll focus on the people that are here already. And from there, they'll be able to go into meaningful jobs and educational opportunities.
Okay.
If you look at what Obamacare does, is it essentially ensures that health care is given to almost everyone in this great nation. However, it is not perfect. Mr. Rhodes, I know that you said that this bill will save money over time. However, in the fiscal year of 2010, we saw that Medicaid gave out $50 billion in undocumented funds, and therefore that money was essentially wasted to people who did not need it or was used illegally. So therefore, I sponsored the FAST Act while I was in Congress, which ensures that we cut back on this wasteful spending in Medicare and Medicaid. We need to continue to push through legislation like this because Obamacare as a whole is much greater for this nation than anybody realizes. However, when you look at some of the minute details within the legislation, it needs to be fine-tuned and tweaked so that that way we are not wasting the hard-earned tax dollars of the people of Mercia.
Okay. All right.
I'm well aware of the financial issues that Obamacare has proposed, but as I said, over the long term, if implemented correctly, it will save us money. It will reduce the deficit. Speaking to the point of Medicare and Medicaid by 2024, they will be in the red. The current plans are not sustainable, and that's because when you look back to the 50s and 60s, you had a nearly 5-to-1 ratio of people paying into the system to those receiving benefits. That's gone down to 3-to-1 a couple of years ago, and in just a couple decades, it'll be 2-to-1. That's not a sustainable plan, and we need to take a closer look at these programs to make sure that we can carry them on into the future.
Okay. Americans. As a single mother, you are certainly aware that higher education is rising in cost. And the burden of student debt is severe for many students. Do you believe the federal government should take further action to reduce this burden? And if so, what do you propose?
Okay, I absolutely am all for helping the students out. It is absolutely essential to get well, not absolutely, but it is essential that you get, a degree from a higher learning institute, higher education institution. In order to get a job that can support you nowadays. And the biggest thing that we'd like to do is lower interest rates on student loans. And that's a really big thing. If we can regulate that, that would take a huge burden off of students now. And also, we had discussed giving a tax credit to those who are still paying off their student loans. It is a really big problem now that students cannot pay back their loans within, 10, 15 years of graduating. So I find that I know my daughter is going to have to go off to college, and I have to be able to support that. And if I'm not able to, she has to take on some of that financial burden herself. And I know that once she is going through that process, that, I'd hope that the government could help her out a little bit too.
We should be helping to lower the cost of higher education by continuing to support the Pell Grants and the Stafford student loans. Low interest rates are important to make sure that higher education is available, but as I've said, a higher education via a 4-year degree is not necessarily the right choice for everybody. I said it just a few minutes ago. By 2014, 45% of our jobs, 45% will not require a 4-year degree. How do you expect to have our entire 100% of our population when we're pushing everybody towards 4-year degrees? And I'm not saying that this is a solution for everybody, but vocational and trade schools will fill that need. It will create a stronger base for our economy by putting people into jobs. I agree that we need to keep higher education accessible and available to those who desire it, but I also want to see a shift, again, away from the stigma in this nation that Mercians who go to trade schools, who go to vocational schools to learn jobs like electrician and plumbing, are not looked at in a negative light. I don't want to wake up in a Mercia where nobody knows how to change a light bulb or plunge a toilet.
San Francisco and the child of immigrant parents. You have advocated strongly for many public services to be provided to immigrants. However, you currently preside over a city that has amassed $1.3 billion in non-voter approved debt. Do you believe that healthcare, education, and other services are rights that should be extended to non-citizens no matter the cost? And if so, how do you propose to handle the cost?
Thank you, Anthony. I do. I firmly believe that those are rights that should be guaranteed to our new Mercians. And I believe that if we have our current amount of undocumented workers in this country needs to be decreased. And so I am presenting a 5-point plan to address that, and that includes increasing access to naturalization forms, etc., so that families and new Mercians can be actual tax-paying individuals in this country. Additionally, I am looking to work to improve access to reunification visas, which will allow families to bring their loved ones from their home countries. From there, now that we'll have this new tax-paying population that will increase revenues for the government, I think it's important to address that those benefits will boost the economy, thereby allowing more opportunities for healthcare benefits, educational opportunities, and basically a better way of life for those new Mercians.
Thank you.
Represents 4% of our federal budget. Only 4%. In comparison, defense is around 25%, just to give you a quick comparison. And I think the key is changing, as Mr. Rhodes said, the stigma about education. And now whether that comes in the way of increasing participation in vocational schools or community colleges, my plan is a plan that puts us forth on a 21st century plan, not a 20th century plan. One where every diploma of a science, technology, engineering, or math is stamped with a guarantee from the government that your student loans will not put you into debt. So no Mercian child who wants to go into technology, wants to go into engineering, is dismayed because of the problems of student debt. And I don't think any student should have to go to a community college or a vocational school if they want to be a doctor or a lawyer or anything else. I think we should strive for the top. That's how we've always done it in Mercia.
Okay.
For-year education, I agree that it's an absolute necessity in order to continue innovation and continue pushing our country forward so we can compete with other countries around the world. We need to have students who have sharp minds, who are pushing forward the limits of technology and innovation and creating new products and new ideas for our future. However, they're correct. Four-year education is not for everybody. I agree that people who want to have this four-year education, who work hard, and obviously make the steps to apply for the grants and apply for the subsidies and the loans, should absolutely receive those. There's too many Mercians who apply for those and are thwarted by that. The other thing I'm also very excited about is our 0 to 5 plan, which I plan to implement, which is really a focus on young education. Children who start from zero to all the way through grade school. Many students drop out and initially start off with a very poor education as a child, and that is a very poor foundation to really having somebody to create an ambitious, strong Mercian who wants to go on to that college and wants to get the job and work from there. Like Senator Diaz said, 4% is education. That's a very small number. And we need to focus a lot of that towards our young children who will then take that and move that on to their college degree.
Okay.
To me, because I believe that education is the future of ensuring that Mercia continues to be one of the premier nations within the entire world. And that's why I'm planning, if elected president, to ensure that college becomes much more affordable for everybody who wishes to go there. It should be for the people who meet the academic need, not necessarily the financial need. And therefore, I want to applaud the efforts of the state of California, which just passed legislation, which allowed for textbooks to be available online and cheap for all entry-level classes, because that's more of the steps that need to be taken. I would also forgive all student loans for anybody who spends 10 years in public service after graduation, because we need to ensure that we have quality teachers within our public schools to ensure that our academic standards start to catch up with the rest of the world. There is absolutely no excuse why Mercia should be lagging behind in such fundamental subjects such as math and science, and we need to ensure that this is changed moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get both, and the right mix of both. I believe that I've made it clear, in order to be a satirist, as I've done, my parent company would say rather successfully for over a decade, you have to know the issues and you have to know them extremely well. In order to poke holes and make fun at those who are fighting to make our country better, you have to know the issues backwards and forwards from the left side and the right side. It's with this critical eye that I've looked at the issues for over a decade. I've liked to poke holes and make a little bit of fun in my own time, but moving into this campaign, it's now my job to show the Mercian people that I am here to be serious. I am here to govern, and I am here to be the person to take a critical look at the issues and make the decision that is not the funniest decision, but that is the decision that will move Mercia forward, that will return us to being one of the leaders, thought leaders and otherwise, in the world.
Necessary?
Let me just say that Mr. Rhodes said that he is throughout the years sat on the sidelines and poked holes in policy. And as Teddy Roosevelt said, it is not the commentator who counts, but the man in the arena. And Mr. Rhodes in his press conference said that the United States of America is not the greatest country in the world. Am I correct? Is that a direct quote?
I did say that.
You did say that. Well, Mr. Rhodes, I'm going to give you a history lesson, probably one you didn't learn in comedy school.
Do you want to finish the rest of the
audience
quote?
if you can.
Exactly. Mr. Rhodes, it was America that fought tyranny in World War II and blazed out of the Great Depression. It was America that told the world the moon was in reach, and we sent a generation into the final frontiers of space. America, again, that defeated tyranny in the Cold War, bringing a new wave of democracy the world had never seen, and it was America that fostered a technological revolution that skyrocketed us into the 21st century. Our optimism, our opportunities, and our freedoms make us the envy of the world. Mr. Rhodes, I have a very simple question. If we're not the greatest country on earth, then who is?
By asking him to read my bio, I do have a law degree. I did spend 6 years in school, undergraduate University of Virginia, graduate school at Syracuse University. If you would be so kind as to finish the quote, I never said that we were not the greatest nation in the world, nor did I say that we will never again be. If you would finish the full quote, I said that we can be once again. We are at a place where, if you look at the polls about how people view Emercians, we are third in the world at people who favor Emercians, behind Kenya and Japan. How can you be the greatest nation in the world when you have a failing economy, when we are not in the top 10 in reading, not in the top 15 in math or science scores, despite the fact that we spend the most per capita per student in the world? How can you be number one in the world when you don't even think number one of yourself? Okay.
I think Emercia is the greatest nation in the world, but I do feel there are definitely some improvements that, I said Emercia,
Yes, you did.
that there are definitely some improvements that we can be making to our country to make us really thrive forward, including a green initiative to make us number one in, environmental, new environmental methods or environmentally friendly methods of doing business and reducing our emissions and so on. So I feel that there are things that we can definitely improve on. We are currently not signed on to like the Kyoto Protocol and things like that that can definitely make us number one. But right now, as I feel pride for my country, I don't feel that that we are not on the same competing level for certain aspects of our people.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. And I'd like to have everyone take a look at our military. Our military, quite frankly, is the envy of the world. We're involved in a few conflicts right now. I look to remedy those as president. But our military really stands for what America is built on, which is protecting our freedom, protecting our liberty, protecting everything that our country is about, and that's opportunity as well. So look at our military. Our economy, there's room for improvement, of course. It's been acknowledged. But we're strong, and we'll continue to be strong going into the 21st century.
Senator.
Has faced adversity over the last couple of years. We can't deny that. Some may say we've fallen from grace. I don't think so. Because out of adversity comes greatness. Because of us having to face this difficulty in the last couple of years, I think we're going to come out of it as a stronger country. We are the greatest in the world because of our past and because of the potential for our future. We're not gone. We're not out of the playing field. We're not heading home in mom's minivan, driving home, eating oranges in the back seat. We are heading forward. We're improving our economy. The fact that we're all standing here so strongly and vehemently supporting ways that we can improve Emercia is a damn good sign for our future. I think us being able to push our potential for the future with technology innovation, improving our education system, and getting our economy back on track with hardworking Emercians will get us back to the very, very top of being the greatest country in the world, undeniably, in everyone's mind.